And the number one film is...
It's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Of course it is.
Of course, based on the Marvel comic book that originally came out a long time ago, actually, back in the late 60s, but it has been rebooted more recently. And this follows the adventures of Peter Quill. He's a young guy from Earth, abducted actually from Earth in the late 80s, taken into outer space by this group of sort of space pirates. And then many years later, now calling himself Star-Lord, because he's a bit of a wannabe intergalactic player, he discovers this precious orb that many outlaws in the universe all want to get their hands on. Here's a clip of Guardians of the Galaxy.
If we're gonna get out of here, we're gonna need to get into that watchtower. And to do that, I'm gonna need a few things. The guards wear security bands to control their ins and outs. I need one.
Leave it to me.
That dude there, I need his prosthetic leg.
His leg?
Yeah. God knows I don't need the rest of him. Look at him, he's useless.
All right.
And finally, on the wall back there is a black panel. Blinky yellow light. You see it?
Yeah?
There's a Quarnix battery behind it. Purplish box, green wires. To get into that watchtower, I definitely need it.
How are we supposed to do that?
Well, supposedly these bald bodies find you attractive, so maybe you can work out some sort of trade.
You must be joking.
No, I really heard they find you attractive.
Look, it's 20 feet up in the air, and it's in the middle of the most heavily guarded part of the prison. It's impossible to get up there without being seen.
I got one plan, and that plan requires a frickin' Quarnix battery, so figure it out! Can I get back to it? Thanks. Now, this is important. Once the battery is removed, everything is gonna slam into emergency mode. Once we have it, we gotta move quickly. So you definitely need to get that last. Or we can just get it first and improvise.
I'll get the armband.
Leg.
Sounds like the BBC radiophonic workshop getting their hands on that clip there.
Oh, a great soundscape on this
Yeah.
film, if amongst other great things about it.
It's opened big. I mean, it's opened bigger in the UK than the original Iron Man and Thor and the last two Captain America movies. Was seen as a gamble because it's not as well known a comic book as those. But I think the key is, we've seen various trailers over the last few months and all the publicity. It always looked so much fun.
Yeah.
And frankly, when you go and see it, it is so much fun. And really, Marvel adaptations have been making themselves different, marking themselves out as different from, let's say, DC, which is, Superman and Batman, because they do seem more fun-loving. I mean, you saw it in Iron Man and the Avengers, very different from Man of Steel, for example, from last year, which was way too serious, I think, for its own good. And this, however, takes things to new levels of irreverence. And I just love that irreverence. It gives it some real personality. And audiences around the world have clearly responded to that. However, despite the gags, I mean, let's not think it's all silly, because there is still a story there. That story is still engaging. There is still emotional involvement. And it's that mix that really is the holy grail, isn't it, of big sci-fi family blockbusters. It all started with Star Wars back in the day. But to have that combination of, on the one hand, taking yourself seriously, having involving characters, but on the other hand, just having fun as well, that is a brilliant combination, and I think that's why people are loving it so much. Chris Pratt is great as well, isn't he?
That's what I was about to say. I think a lot of that is down to Chris Pratt, who, if you look just over the last maybe 4 years and stuff in terms of kind of Moneyball, which, smaller showing, but great, Her as well, and obviously the voice of Emmett in the Lego movie and stuff as well. He's just on a roll at the minute, and I think so much of the tone of this film is down to his performance and how he approaches it as well. And also everyone else around him. Having Bradley Cooper as the voice of Rocket and stuff as well is
Groot.
is a great...
Groot is great.
Yeah, Vin Diesel, And it's just, there's so many things that make bits of a puzzle almost that make up the full thing.
Which could very easily go wrong if it's just pitched the wrong way. So maybe James Gunn he has to be thanked big time because he's partly responsible for this. Like you said, Chris Pratt and all the other actors, they just got the mood exactly right and they got the tone exactly right. I like the fact it's bold and it's daring, and they will use all of the old songs in it, which seem a bit out of place, but at the same time they seem utterly perfect. It totally makes sense.
Pina colada.
And it just says we're going to have fun with this. We're going to have our own personality. We're going to have our own attitude. And actually, I think because, James Gunn now is like the hottest director in Hollywood, although he started out, making sort of trauma horror movies. And I think he wrote a couple of Scooby-Doo films, but now he's the man. man. But I think because he wasn't a massive name when he directed this, because there weren't, I mean, there are names in it, but not massive
Pressure
names.
off.
The pressure was off. And I think actually, you know, they didn't rest on any laurels. They just said, let's have fun and let's go for it.
I also think kind of on a bigger picture, the way that Kevin Feige at Marvel is kind of approaching all these films and making them very individual and unique and stuff, whether it's your Avengers, whether it's your Iron Man, whether it's your Thor and stuff. You know, each one is kind of being kind of quite specifically crafted in terms of what it is and who it is, with an identity, which I think is really important as well.
At the same time, you know that they could, well, the Avengers have shown this, they could all join up at some point and it would still make all kinds of amazing sense.
Yeah.
So I think in the future, they know that they can mash things up a bit, can't they? And mix things up and it will still all work.
Big Marvel party.